Good morning, everybody. We are on month 9 for our block of the month. And so we're going to get started on our cutting. So I'm going to start with the background fabric. I am going to cut one strip that is 3 7/8. I'm going to cut a second strip that is 4 inches from the background fabric. And then one strip that is 1.5. So the first strip that we cut that was 3 7/8, we are going to cut and make 8 squares that are 3 7/8. 2, 4. So I made my 8 squares that are 3 7/8, and now I'm going to go to my strip that is 4 inches wide, and we're going to cut 4 squares at 4 inches. Now this one I can use the stripology ruler on. Now I'm going to not put those with my 3 7/8. Want to make sure we keep those separated. We are going to then take the remainder of this one and cut 1.5 by 12.5. So this ruler is 12.5 inches long, and then we're just going to make this 1.5. Now, from the last strip that was cut at 1.5 inches wide, we need 3 that is 1.5 by 12.5. 12.5. Open this up. Okay, that is all of the background of what we need at the background. Next, we are going to cut our L5. The L5 is our stripes, and we're going to cut this strip into a 5-inch strip. Now, from the 5-inch strip, we're going to cut 4 squares out of it that are 4 inches by 4 inches. Now, 4 squares that are 4 inches by 4 inches. You are going to take the remainder of this strip and you're going to mark this and put it in month 12. Now we're going to take D3 fabric and we're going to cut one strip that is 7.25 inches wide. From this, we are going to cut 2 squares that are 7.25. So that is the remainder of us cutting our fabric. Next, we're going to start our piecing of the fabric. All right, so we're starting our piecing of the fabric. You're going to take your background pieces that were cut at 3 7/8, and you're going to draw a line on each of those squares. So I'm just going to take my ruler, and we are going to draw a line on each of our squares diagonally once, and we're going to do that on each one of them. So I'm going to then take my square, place it on the 3 7/8 square like this and like this. We are going to line up our bottom corner, top corner, and our line that's going through. We're going to line that up, and then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch on each side of our line, a scant 1/4 inch, so you can either do a scant or you can run your foot just slightly over your line, like we've done previously. I like to take my Wonder clips and clip the corners so that these do not move on me, and I will clip on all 4 corners. Now that we have sewn, so you can see here on the back side, so you can see where I sewed a 1/4 inch to each side of the line, I'm going to come in and cut right down the line that I drew. And then we're going to take our pieces and we're going to press this up. After we have pressed the piece up, it's going to look like this. I've drawn a line again on the fabric, placing right sides together. And I'm lining up my corner top here. And my center point should be centered here where my line is drawn. I'm going to sew again a 1/4 inch to each side of the line, a scant 1/4 inch. And when you are sewing, what helps to get this line up, when you're sewing your 1/4 inch and you're coming down, right here where the two fabrics meet, your needle should come up right there and right there. So that helps you to get a much better flying geese if your needle starts right here where the fabrics come together or come off the fabric right there. After you have sewn your line, you can see on the back where I've sewn the 2 1/4 inch lines, and you can see here where my needle had come right off with the fabric meets. That's on the back side. I'm going to come in and cut this. And you're going to do this for all the pieces. Then you're going to take this and press this up for your flying geese. After you do that, you are going to take your L5 square, the 4 inches by 4 inches, and you're going to take your background square. Now, because it was harder for me to see on the back side of this one a drawn line, I drew my line on the back of my background because I had a white background. So whichever piece is lighter, do that. Now, what is very important, the instructions say to put it on the back of your diagonal. So if you do it on this, you want to draw your line across. You want to make sure that your lines on L5 are going vertically. So then I'm going to draw my line from the top left to the bottom right. This is important on this one because we want the lines going all the same direction. So on every piece, you want to make sure that your lines are vertical, and you're going to go across from top left to bottom right and draw your line. You're going to place the right sides together. So if you drew on your background, the lines need to be vertical. I'm going to put my background piece here, right sides together, and my line is drawn from here to here, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch on each side of those. So you can somewhat see that I have my 2 lines here. So when I sewed this and I lift this up, you can see where my lines are vertical. And I sewed from top left to bottom right. I'm going to cut down my line that I drew, and I'm going to open it up. So what happens when I open this up and I place this here, my stripes are all going in the same direction, because as we turn this on the block, we want the stripes to be turning also. Now after we do that and we have pressed it, we need to trim these up to 3.5 by 3.5. So I'm going to place my piece here. I'm going to put my ruler on here, and you can see my 45-degree line. I'm going to line this up on the seam line, and I'm going to trim this to 3.5 by 3.5. So I want to make sure that there's a little bit of fabric all the way around on my 3.5 markings. I'm going to turn the square, and now I'm going to line up at my 3.5 mark and also my 45-degree line here. Once I've lined that up, just cut, and then you're going to square up all of your squares like that. After we squared up the squares, you're going to take your flying geese piece and your stripe piece, and you're going to place them together like this. So all of your flying geese pieces and your half square triangle pieces, you're going to line them up like this. You're going to take this piece and sew it to this piece and sew 1/4 inch. When you do that, you are going to come in and see how I have it like this. I'm going to make sure that my lines line up as I do this. You could do the Wonder clip, or you could pin. I really like these new pins that we got. The gripper is really nice on these. So I'm going to make sure I pin there so that that my lines line up. So after we line that up, we're going to take our kaleidoscope block. Here we are going to take our flying geese and our strip piece. We're going to line it up like this. You're going to see, we're going to do what I will refer to as a partial seam. So we're going to come in and we're going to sew this piece. See, we have all this extra up here. We're going to sew this piece to this piece. So I'm going to come in here like this. I'm going to line up my center seam here. And what we're going to do when we do that, we're going to sew from here about 2/3 of the way up, and we're going to stop there. And we're not going to connect all the way to the end. What that will now look like after I've sewn it, so I've sewn up to here, I'm going to press this right here, not all the way up here. And you can see where I am not attached at the end there. I am going to take my other pieces, and now I'm going to line up the flying geese like this. And this is why it was important to have those stripes vertical, because now this is going this way, this is going to go this way, so on and so forth. I'm going to take this piece and sew it to this piece here. Then once I sew that, I am going to take the bottom piece here, And then I'm going to sew this to this piece. And then I am going to take this one and I'm going to sew this to here. And this will be sewn all the way up to the edge here. So you can see here right before I get that sewn up, you can see here's all my 4 sides. And once I place this on top here, this piece is not sewn down. This lines up perfectly here. And I'm going to sew that to that. After that is sewn, it will look like this, just probably better pressed. And then I'm going, once I've sewn all 3, the last remaining 3 sides, I am now going to take this piece, flip it back over here like this. I'm going to line up my corner here and here, and then I'm going to finish my seam across. After I finish my seam across, we will have the almost completed block here. You are then going to take your 2 1.5 inch strips, and you're going to sew those 1.5 inch strips to the left and the right side of your block. And then voila, month 9 blocks are done. All right, ladies, I will see you next month when we do month 10, and have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Bye.